Take a moment to imagine that your Americano coffee magically turned into a mechanical keyboard. Not just any mechanical keyboard, into a RK84 SE keyboard. This thing literally looks like the visual representation of coffee on a keyboard. I mean, I can almost taste that sweet bitterness. And whew, anyway, weird thoughts aside, this is a very interesting looking keyboard and I thought it's only fair that we do a full review on it. So let's see what the RK84 limited edition keyboard or SE keyboard has to offer. Starting with packaging contents, as you can see, Royal Clutch keeps it pretty standard across all their keyboards. The RK84 comes with that traditional orange and black box. Anyway, once you open up the box, inside immediately the first thing you'll find is the keyboard. Remove the protective packaging and here it is. Past that, you do have a multi-language user manual that shows you the basic operations of the keyboard itself. You also have the inclusion of a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, which also serves, of course, as the wired connectivity cable. Now, past that, you do have two magnetic razors, which can be attached to the bottom of the keyboard. You also have a key switch tool, which of course is necessary for a hot swappable keyboard, and finally a couple of spare switches. Pretty good stuff. This is a 75% compact keyboard, so obviously you will not have a 10 key pad here. Other than that though, it looks very much like a keyboard in that class category. The signature feature here obviously are those contrasting keycap colors. So you'll notice the outer keycaps have a maroon and white mix going on, while the inner keycaps have a more traditional black finish. When put together, you get that Americano feeling or aesthetics that I was talking about earlier. It looks really nice and unique. Now, it's worth noting the entire keyboard does have a plastic finish design, which doesn't necessarily look as premium. However, in all fairness, the top plastic ring can be removed, so you have more exposed key switches, which gives the keyboard a very different look. So plenty of customization there. The bottom side of the keyboard has a few things. Firstly, you have two toggles. The first one is to switch between Bluetooth and wireless mode. The second one is to turn the device on or off. Now you also have a dedicated slot for the USB wireless dongle. This is really helpful in case you're not using it or you need a place to quickly store it away when you're on the move. Additionally, it's worth noting that the top two rubber grips also serve as magnets, and this is where you would attach the optional magnetic razors should you need to. On the rear side of the device is where you have a bunch of ports. Now, the USB-C port here is the one used to charge the keyboard as well as connect it to the computer. You also have two USB 2.0 bypass ports, which is pretty amazing for a keyboard of this size. Now, there is a catch. They only work when you use a keyboard in a wired connection setting, so you can't use those bypass ports over a wireless or Bluetooth setting. Fair enough, I suppose. This keyboard has full RGB backlighting, which is pretty amazing. And also you have 20 distinct lighting modes, which you can easily toggle to directly from the keyboard itself with multiple brightness levels, of course. Now, one thing worth noting is that while the RGB backlighting does aesthetically look very nice, it is practically useless because it doesn't actually light up any of the keycaps. So again, great for aesthetics, but doesn't really serve its purpose as backlighting, which I always find to be a weird choice with a lot of keyboard manufacturers. In terms of typing experience, the RK84 SEs come with standard RK yellow switches. Now, in case you're not that well versed with yellow switches, they are very similar to red switches. However, they have a slightly higher actuation force, so they provide just a little bit more physical feedback, but they are linear and quiet in nature. On top of that, the Q switches are very well lubed, which results in a buttery smooth and consistent typing experience. Now, of course, the keyboard is fully hot swappable, meaning you can fully replace all the keycaps you see on the keyboard, but also replace the individual key switches beneath them. And they're compatible with any 3-pin or 5-pin switch you can find on the market. Now, of course, while I can't really show you how this keyboard feels, I can definitely show you how it sounds. So here's a quick listen. The RK84 SE basically comes with a 3750 mAh battery. This essentially translates into up to 30 hours of usage with backlighting consistently on and up to 200 hours with backlighting off. While not industry-leading numbers, they're pretty reasonable for a keyboard of this size and in this class as well. With an approximate retail price of $90 US, this is a pretty good keyboard and ranges somewhere between budget and mid-range. In return, you get some pretty nice perks like full RGB backlighting, a very customizable design with a removable plastic top plate, and you also of course have hot swappable functionality to go with it alongside a very unique and cool looking design. Now with that said, there are certain limitations which I mentioned, like for example the RGB backlighting doesn't actually penetrate to the keycaps and is practically, well, almost useless. Now on top of that, the keyboard also has a full plastic body, so it may not feel as premium in terms of feels compared to some other keyboards in a similar price range. But despite this, I think this is a pretty fantastic keyboard. It is backed by RK's reliability and of course its amazing functionality. Let me know what you think of these new limited edition keyboards, and if you would be interested in getting one, I will leave links in the video description below. As always, if you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing to this channel and liking this video. Catch you in the next one.